So the internet's going crazy. They're saying Jonathan Majors was found not guilty, but that is not correct. Stick around and we're going to talk about what actually happened um, versus what was being talked about online. So welcome again. As usual, this is the Dope Black Lawyer, Josh Jones ESQ, and this is Law and Hip Hop, the number one place to get hip hop current events and legal news so that you can make sure that you're able to take what we see happening in current event in hip hop culture and apply it to your life if it's positive, or not apply it to your life if it's not, so you can learn from what's going on. So as I said, this is every week, Thursday at 3. I'm live from the 305. Let me know where you're at right now. If you're watching right now live, go ahead and type in where you're at. And if you're watching on the replay, type replay and let us know where you're watching from. So 305 is the time we got started today, and I'm in the 305. So I love that. So let's just go ahead and jump straight in. I don't want to hold you any more than I have to. So first story we're going to talk about, if you know about it, if you remember the Central Park Five, either you were alive, you remember when the young brothers got accused of the rape of the woman in Central Park, and then they were later exonerated because of their DNA. Well, one of those young brothers is now running for city councilman in New York, and he beat two Democratic political, people who are more sophisticated politically than him. He beat them in the primary, so he's getting ready for that. So Yusuf Salaam is getting ready to, hopefully be representing the culture in New York City as a councilman. He has the pedigree. He seems like a sharp dude. From, if you watch the documentary they had about them, or if you've seen him anywhere else throughout the years, he has spoken out and been an advocate for people who are wrongfully accused, and helping other people be exonerated as well. So I wish Yusuf good luck. Moving on to headline 2. If you've been paying attention, you may have heard that the Supreme Court ruled that affirmative action and using race as a reason or a factor in higher education admissions is no longer constitutional. So there's a lot of people who are going back and forth, but what we know, this has already happened in Michigan and California, where they passed similar laws, and we saw that the admission rates for minorities, particularly Black people, dropped after these laws were passed. The Chief Justice, John Roberts, he said that students can still write about race in their admissions essays, but it can't formally be a factor in their admissions. So Harvard by itself, one of the main schools that actually this case was brought because Asian student and a group of Asian students were saying that they felt that they were not being admitted because of affirmative action causing for Black and Latino candidates who had lower test scores than them to be admitted. So they were the reason why this suit was even brought. So they seemingly were political pawns for white people, but that's the case. So what the record shown when all of this went down was that legacy, being a legacy at an Ivy League institution or any institution, is still a factor that can be used. And it's shown that over 70% of the legacy students who were admitted were white. So it causes, being a legacy caused them to be 6 times more likely to be admitted. So as I stated, these types of things in the past have shown that this is going to negatively affect admission at these schools for Black candidates, Latino candidates. However, as you can see from my hat, Clark Atlanta University, HBCUs, that is the whole reason why we even, why they even exist. So back after Reconstruction, mainly you saw the pop up of a lot of the HBCUs all across the South and up the Eastern Coast, up to Pennsylvania and things like that. So for these students who can't get in, HBCUs for over 150 years, in a lot of cases, have been producing stellar, high quality candidates who have gone into the workforce, become entrepreneurs, and really, really achieved and excelled and gotten great results for themselves. So not only that, but this Saturday, I'm actually a sponsor for South Florida's HBCU picnic, where we celebrate this legacy of excellence, and we are raising money for scholarships for students from South Florida, primarily to be able to continue to matriculate through these HBCUs. As you can see, it's going to become even more critical now that the students are not necessarily going to be as welcome at other places. So I'm very excited about that HBCU picnic that we do. This is the 7th edition, and it started very small. We started with about 200 people, and now we're expecting 5,000. So that's what's up. So let's keep it rolling. So we like to kind of, see what's going on in the streets. So we're going to start out at Wichita, Kansas, the streets of Wichita. Who even knew they had the streets in Wichita, right? But let's talk about it. Rapper, I don't know if he's Mosey or Mozzie, but he was stopped by the police, and after a shooting, following one of his concerts, and he was questioned but released. One of the people who was in his entourage was thought to be a suspect in the crime. So that's going on out there in Kansas, which actually a lot of people talk about Kansas like that, but way back when, Kansas was thought to be a place that could have become like the black state. So they were talking about shipping all the black people to Kansas and letting us just have it, but that never happened. But that's something that a lot of people who study history know about, and other people know about as well. And I always wonder what could have happened if that would have actually taken place. So out in Atlanta, another young rapper associated with YSL, Young Thug's crew, he was charged with felony murder after the police determined that they felt like he was responsible for a felony murder in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia, neighborhood called Mechanicsville, at an apartment complex. His mom thinks it's a case of mistaken identity. There were a couple of other suspects. The victim was a 28-year-old individual. He is not charged with anything related to the RICO case, but he is being charged with this felony murder. Felony murder, as you can see on the screen, it's in red, the part that we want to focus on. But basically, anytime that there is another crime that's being committed, if someone dies and while that other crime is being committed, even if you did not actually intend to or pull the trigger, if you were a part of that crime, you could be charged with what's called felony murder. So along with the felony murder charge, FN was also charged with possession of a firearm or knife during the commission of a attempt to commit certain felonies. So we don't know exactly what those felonies are, if it was robbery, if it was burglary, or if it was some type of assault. We don't really know, but because someone died, he was charged with that felony murder. So that's something to think about. And since we're talking about YSL, in other unrelated news, the attorney for Young Thug has actually filed for the court to strike some of the charges, majority of the charges, based on a theory that a Georgia law says that in order for you to bring these types of charges under the RICO case, the actual crimes that they're saying were made up the RICO case had to have happened 5 years from the time that they filed it. So they had two different filing dates of the indictment. So they filed the indictment in May of 2022, and then they refiled it again in August of 2022. So there's a little discrepancy as to when which date applies, but the judge has still not ruled on whether or not he's going to strike any or all of these charges. But Young Thug's lawyer saying that Thug and all the other defendants' charges should be stricken, and they should be released. So we'll stay tuned. This could just be a Hail Mary when you're a criminal defense lawyer. You're just trying to do whatever you can to try to do the best you can for your client, even if you don't think it's going to work. With the type of charges that Thug and some of these other people are facing with regard to the life sentences and everything like that, it could be worth it for him, to make that argument. It could work. But keeping it moving, going down to Houston, Travis Scott, if you remember, he had a concert a little while back, and there was a big crowd. There's pandemonium in the crowd. 9 people were killed, and hundreds of others were also injured, or maybe thousands. So there's all types of lawsuits all over the country. most of the people died from asphyxia from the commotion. But they have determined they're not going to bring criminal charges against Travis Scott. They believe that he was not aware of what was going on. He didn't do it on purpose, and even tried to stop the concert and do certain things to try to minimize the effects of what was happening. So obviously the families of some of these people are not pleased to hear that, but they do still have their civil lawsuits that are pending against Travis Scott, Live Nation, the concert promoters, the security, and everyone else. And sticking with the same topic, last but not least, Melly Mel, one of the OGs, pioneers of hip hop, was charged last week with domestic violence against a longtime acquaintance. And after he asked the young lady to leave his hotel room, she refused to leave, and eventually she ended up being hit. He says he attempted to pack his suitcase and to get her out of the room, and that something happened to Jordan's eye during the melee. So the something was in quotes. So we don't know what the something is, but if you go back to that picture, you can kind of see that even though he's like 65 years old, Melly Mel is kind of brolic, so you don't want to catch one from Melly Mel going back. So, but it's okay. Yeah, Melly Mel, that's him on all the way to the end, the older dude with the crazy looking chin strap. So Melly Mel got some size on him, and I, hope that this is a misunderstanding and everything gets worked out with that. But we're gonna keep it moving. So I just want to tell you, Dope Black Lawyer is not just who I am, but we also promote Dope Black Lawyers. So we want to make sure that Dope Black Lawyers all across the country are going to get their just due. And if you need help with any type of case, that you can reach out to us and we can connect you with the Dope Black Lawyer. So now let's go to the next story. A gospel artist in Atlanta, Darlene McCoy, she's also a radio host. She went to get a cheesesteak from some cheesesteak place in a part of Atlanta called Buckheads. Used to be kind of a nice area. I guess you still would consider it that. But when she went there, when you tell the people your name or whatever, they write it on the receipt. On her receipt, they wrote Darky. So she brought it to their attention, and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, no, I know your name, Darlene. I put that there. That's for me, for me to know who it is." So she tried to get her money back. They wouldn't give her money back. She reported it, and the owner of this cheesesteak establishment said that they investigated and it was a misunderstanding and a mistake. And, they basically said they're not going to do anything about it. So if you Black in Atlanta, visiting Atlanta, you want to get a cheesesteak, don't go to Woody's Cheesesteaks. It's the bottom line. That's the moral of the story here. There is a video on her IG Live where she kind of is talking about it. And then in the story, you can see other people talking about that this happens all the time at this place, which is kind of wild to think that they're always putting, racial slurs on people's orders and then handing them the receipt and saying, nah, it's cool. Don't worry about it. That's for me to know. But, the best way to boycott is with your money. You know what I'm saying? Don't go to Woody's, go to a dope black cheesesteak spot and cheesecake. So if you like cheesecake, it's some banging cheesecake in Atlanta too. You don't have to go to the factory. There's other places you could go to get a banging cheesecake as well. So, so we're gonna keep it moving. And you might have noticed too that we're not in the DBL studio, the Dope Black Lawyer studio today. We're actually filming from a different location. So we're just testing it out and trying to see how this location is compared to the other location. But I'm glad that we can be here together regardless. So we're making the best out of the situation. So let's talk about this week's Karen, right? So we got a video of a Black man who was trying to be respectful to this white woman when she approached him, saying that he was parked in her driveway. He said he was just trying to pick up his daughter. He didn't really realize that it was a private driveway. And then she blocked him in and wouldn't let him move. And then she had something, some choice words for him. So we actually have the video, and we're going to play at least some of it. We may not play the whole video, but we're going to play at least some of it so you can kind of see what's going on with this Karen.
the state law.
Call and have you go.
Ma'am,
where?
He's leaving. He doesn't live here.
He can't leave until I move, and I'm not ready to move.
I wasn't here, but for 30 seconds, I walked in to pick up my daughter.
Call here, call. You're not supposed to stand or park in somebody's driveway. You were
Ma'am,
trespassing.
it's in front of a building. I did not know. My car was running. My car was running the entire time.
No, but I leased that.
Okay, that's fine. We didn't know that.
What apartment do you live in?
Don't worry about it. I did not know. I did not know. I didn't park in a handicap.
You don't know.
My car was running the whole time. I was here for less than 2 minutes.
So I can go to your house.
I walked in
your driveway?
Ma'am, I already apologized. I already apologized.
Karen gonna want to know where you live.
And when you're saying don't ma'am you, I'm trying to be respectful. I'm not doing anything else. I'm trying to back out. I picked up my daughter. I was here for 2 minutes.
Okay, I've been parked for 5. So you have.
Ma'am, you have not been parked for 5.
Karen's gonna lie.
You have not.
He just got here to pick up his daughter.
How long
from my house?
A couple minutes, right?
A couple minutes is 2, which is what I said I was parked here for. That's not 5. Ma'am, I'm trying to leave.
Well, I'm trying to get home.
So get home then.
Well, I
here.
can't because you're in my way.
You're in my way. I want to back up. You being a Karen.
This is my property.
This whole complex is not your property. I'm not trespassing.
I leased this garage.
Okay, and that's fine.
Trying to move.
And I'm trying to move.
You're being a Karen. Do you not understand?
All right.
For 2 minutes, you can't pick up his daughter?
No, that's not a parking spot.
Okay.
Can you move?
And you're not in a parking spot. You're actually partially out in the fire lane. So let's film that. How about we do that?
Karen's don't like when you bring the law out.
No, you're entitled.
That's right, because I'm white. We rule.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's you.
We rule. We rule.
Right?
Man, Karen's gone wild again. I mean, the man's trying to leave. He's trying to be apologetic, and she is not accepting any of that. Like, you can't leave. That might be false imprisonment. Don't call me ma'am. He's just trying to be polite. He's trying to. She's lying. He's speaking facts. I don't know. I mean, we could probably record this segment and then just show a new video every week, and it'll be the same story every time. But no matter where it is, these Karens act the same way. We had the one in New York where the Karen was saying that the man stole the bike that he actually had reserved, and it just goes on and on. So speaking of New York, since we brought it up, John Majors, like we talked about earlier, a lot of people are saying that based on their understanding of what has been disclosed in the last week or so, that he has been vindicated of all charges. That is not true. So what has come out is that certain information has been provided to the police, and it is believed that the police have enough information to charge his accuser with a crime. However, to date, they still have not done that, and they still have not dropped any charges against Jonathan Majors. His attorney has been very adamant that the evidence that's going to come out is going to, prove that he is not guilty. She says they have witness accounts. She says they have evidence and video showing that the woman had struck herself, or at the time when she was with Jonathan, that she had not been struck. And then now when you see the new video, he'd already been gone from the apartment. And all of a sudden now she's got certain things, scars. But after going to a hearing for his criminal case, the next day, Jonathan went to the police. He made his own statements, and he let them know that it had been the first time that this woman had also assaulted him in the past. So, he said this is the first time when he really had marks like that, and the first time that he ever reported it. But, even in London, she's worldwide abuser, according to Jonathan Major. So, that's just kind of what his story is. No charges have been brought, but he did file a lawsuit against the woman. People are coming out against Jonathan Majors. We've kind of talked about this before. Many people said that he's a victimizer and that he's an abuser, and it goes all the way back to when he was at Yale and things like that. So we're going to continue to watch it. He's scheduled to start trial August 3rd. There's a chance that it'll be rescheduled and you'll get a new trial date. One side or the other may decide they're not ready and ask the judge for a continuance. But for now, that's what's going on. So on Twitter, you see people saying, "Where's his apology? Where's his, oh, these charges have been dropped," but that's not the case. So it's important that we listen to a lawyer. Don't just try to figure it out on your own. Don't try to just make assumptions. Obviously the laws are not equally applied to black men as they are to others, but this white woman accuser has not been charged. He is still charged and facing trial, and she may end up being charged, but as of today, that's not true. And we will continue to watch it. And obviously, just like everybody else, if Jonathan Majors is found to have not committed the crime, and if the police did not, do the investigation up to the standard that they should have, then potentially he should be able to either file a lawsuit, get an apology, or something of that nature. But for now, that's not the case. So for Jonathan Majors, one thing that happened, we don't have a picture of it, but he did show up to court with Megan Good. A lot of people are saying that's his girlfriend now. So if that is true, that is an upgrade. Next story, kind of another Karen gone wild. So Kobe Bryant employed this white woman, Molly Carter, who you see to the side of his family for years. She worked for him at Kobe Bryant Inc. So if you're not familiar, there's a I guess it's like an energy athletic drink, Body Armor, and Kobe was an investor in it. And this woman claims that Kobe was just going to give her some of the cut from his investment into this drink, Body Armor. Well, Kobe passed away, and this woman had filed a lawsuit, and Kobe's wife, I mean, I'm sure she's taking his situation hard, but she is not a pushover. So this is not the first time that she's filed a lawsuit and been victorious, but she has been able to win a lawsuit. She filed a lawsuit against this woman for violating the non-disparagement clause in her employment contract. For those who are not fully aware, a non-disparagement clause means that once you separate from your employer or whoever you have this contract with, sometimes we've had it in cases where our clients will get like a settlement from a car accident from like a major company, and that company does not want for the information about what happened to get out. So the clients will sign a statement saying that they won't badmouth the company after they get the money. So in exchange for the money, that's what they do. Similarly, in an employment situation, your contract may say when you terminate your employment from whoever you were employed with, that you will not make statements to make that employer look bad. Well, Kobe's wife, Vanessa, believed that she violated this non-disparagement clause when she made statements like saying that their newborn baby, Capri, had Botox in her lips, that she didn't like when she traveled to the All-Star game with Kobe, because she had to travel on a jet with a lot of fancy ass black people. She also said that the lady called her late husband an asshole, a douche nugget, and a dickwad, and also referred to her as the effing devil, a B, and a psycho, among other things. So the jury sided with Vanessa, and she won her counterclaim against this woman, which was worth over $1.5 million, including her attorney's fees. So the key lesson here is, if you have a contract, you need to make sure that you abide by that contract. You don't do things that will put you in jeopardy of having to pay out to someone for violations that you obviously could have just avoided. So we're going to keep it moving. We got through this episode pretty fast. We got one last story. What in the Florida is going on with these two people right here? Boy, look at here. Look at here. They look like what the Florida. So there were two children who were allegedly taken by a trusted family friend more than 1,000 miles from Panama City to Wisconsin. All right. They abandoned the kids in a park once they learned the police were on their trail. So you've got this 18-year-old woman, Adeline Burkett, and Marquand Edwards, the gentleman, well, the man on the picture, who were arrested. And the girl was supposed to be a trusted family friend, and she went off with a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. So when they located them, they arrested them. Supposedly, the young lady was a missing runaway from Milwaukee, and she returned to the area. So I'm not sure. It doesn't really give enough information of how she could have been a longtime trusted family friend to people in Florida if she had run away from Wisconsin in 2020. Maybe the other people were also from Wisconsin and had relocated to Florida. I don't know. But man, what the Florida? If this is true, that's terrible. I hope that the law is able to, do whatever needs to happen with these individuals, and that these kids are now safe and back with their families. So that was a lot, but we made it. All right. So for those of you that might have missed it, we're going to do a quick rundown. So up in New York, we end up in New York a lot. So we go to Miami a lot. I mean, to Florida a lot, but we end up in New York a lot too. So Yusef Salaam, who was one of the exonerated 5 from the Central Park rape case in the late 80s, is running for city council, and he won the primary. The Supreme Court has ended affirmative action with regard to admission to higher institution. So it cannot be considered for those purposes. So therefore, go to an HBCU, CAU specifically. These rappers here have all been in the news. You had Mozzie, who was stopped by the police and questioned about a shooting that happened after one of his concerts. You've got FN, the dealer, who was charged with a murder in Atlanta. You've got Travis Scott, who they have determined they're not going to file criminal charges against for the situation causing the 9 deaths at his Astroworld concert. And then you got hip hop legend Melly Mel, who's been charged with domestic violence. As always, we'll keep you updated when there's new news on those stories. Then we go to Atlanta, another place we spend a lot of time, and gospel artist, radio host Darlene McCoy was called a darkie on her receipt when she placed the order for some food at a cheesesteak spot. And the establishment found that it was okay. And this woman, I wish I knew her name. I don't know her name. But she believes that because she's white, she rules. And she harassed a black man who inadvertently parked in her driveway, blocked him in, and then told him to move, which is such a caring thing to do. And then Jonathan Majors. So we talked about how there's been some misinformation saying that he has been vindicated of all charges and that they've been dropped. That's not the case. He's actually still facing trial August 2nd, but he is filing a lawsuit against his accuser, and he has also filed a complaint with the police regarding the same incident for which he's facing charges. So the accuser has not been charged. Her name is public, but we just will still continue to call her the accuser. It's out there if you want to see her. And Vanessa Bryant's widow was victorious in a lawsuit against this white woman who used to work for Kobe Bryant Inc., who has said all types of nasty things about their family and made very insensitive statements. And last, the story we just talked about, these 2 individuals were charged with kidnapping 2 kids from Florida, taking them to Wisconsin. So we made it all the way to the end. As usual, we appreciate you for staying. Please, please, please tell us what you want to hear about. Let us know what stories you want to hear. Let us know what you want to get an update on. Let us know what questions you have. If you have a specific question about a case that you may have or one of your relatives may have, don't leave that in the comments or on any of our social media platforms. Send us a DM or reach out to us via email, holla@dopeblack.lawyer.com. You can send us a message on speakpipe.com/dopeblack.lawyer. So that'll allow you to leave an audio message, and then we'll get the message and we can get back in touch with you that way. If you ever get stopped by the police or you get in a crash, you need to holler at a Dope Black lawyer like me, Josh Jones ESQ. If I can't help you, I know who can. So that's our show for this week, and I hope that everybody comes back next week. Holla.